Brother Ron, and welcome to We All Be News Radio and TV, the news-free Dixie for the 21st century.
That word got spread amongst us because some unruly girls who had children and hated their sons' daddies used to call their little snot-nosed 3, 4, and 5-year-old boys that and call them dogs. And the boys needed a bath. They hadn't been washed in 2 weeks and they stank. And this was like 1976 or 77. And then you get up 10 years later, 1986. And now they're 13, 14, they had another 5 years, and then their early 20s, and guess what they're calling everything? Dog, hey, man, Ian, man, that's my Ian, man. Hey, dog, what's happening? See, that wasn't a man thing. That's from a little know-nothing child mama. You saw Singleton's Boys in the Hood. It was that heifer that was Ice Cube's mama in the movie. She loved the one that was an athlete because she loved that boy's daddy. The smartest one was Ice Cube, but she couldn't stand him because she couldn't stand his daddy. She got all of her sons killed from her stupidity and triflingness. I grew up in a situation like Boys in the Hood, but it wasn't on the Crenshaw area. It was out there, Slauson and Normandy. If anybody knows L.A. I wasn't in any damn gang, but my group, just like the group in Boys in the Hood, had to put up with them damn fool girl boys in the hood that were playing gangbangers. See, the typical gangbanger is a lesbian in a boy's body. Ain't no man. They were little snot-nosed crybabies in elementary school, and then when they joined the posse up in the junior high or middle school, they get all badass because they got backup. They used to be crying for their mamas with snot running down their nose and no daddy and no man training. Act like cannibals. I mean, if you had that happen, too bad. Now get over it. It ain't nothing to brag about. But they do because Hollywood bend over. Has glorified that dysfunction.
And I'm glad you brought that up, too. I mean, John Singleton just passed recently, may he rest in peace. But he also did another movie called Baby Boy that talks about that dysfunction as well.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, hit it right on the head.
Like that one in there. Baby, what we going to do with my car? What you mean, your car? You ain't paid any note on it. That was his girlfriend. And when he was doing with Ben Reams, played the man that came into his mama's life, said, I'm going to hurt you, fool. You don't man up. I like you talking about, mama, when we going to throw him out of our house? She said, what the hell you mean, our house? You ain't paid any notes. You ain't got a job. So then he's all happy he got a job. You know what it is? Selling stolen women's clothes to the women, and he and his homeboy going off into the beauty salons, sissy as they can be, selling women's clothes to women that has been stolen. And in that one, they want to be a preacher. In that movie, that's the homicidal maniac with no scruples, typical preacher. He nailed that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I just thought that was,
You know what? I saw him give a talk on that.
Okay.
And they recorded it. He said the thing about Baby Boy is that he's doing things without realizing it that will keep him from being a man if he ever truly decides he wants to be one. And he doesn't know it. And that's true about a lot of what we do in our neighborhood because there's no man around. It's all a matriarchy. It's not all, but it's mostly a matriarchy. We got a situation where 8 or 9 out of every 10 young male blacks, 20 and under, are born out of wedlock with no daddy in the household, ever. Not even a divorced daddy in the household. Or once in the household. Well, how they going to be men? And they got little girls, 12, 13, 14, 15 having. And in juvenile court, this cesspool here in Memphis, Shelby County, they've got all of these males down there that are listed as the fathers of these babies that these 12, 13, 14-year-old girls have, which is a felony. It's considered rape, and they don't do anything about it. Don't even report them. And the statute says it is a criminal penalty to fail to knowingly fail to report such a thing, and they don't, because they're just interested in the money.
Wow. All right, man. I mean, like I said, I just,
know a woman.
yeah.
I know a good friend of mine, woman, just in juvenile court. This guy has a job working, and he hadn't paid child support in 20 years. Never paid it. And they keep bringing him down there. They get their money out of it, and she gets nothing. And she's not on welfare, so she does not get a check. Now, if the person's on welfare, they'll go after the dude to get the money, and then they'll keep it in the regular account, earn interest, then take the interest out and put the interest in a non-interest bearing account. And then after a while, they'll take the money they've hijacked, put it in that account, and the woman winds up getting it 14 to 18 months after it's paid in, if it is.
Let me ask you this, Judge. You think it'd be better for people to work outside the court system?
Well, let's put it this way. Shelby County is the only place in the state of Tennessee that allows this, thanks to that clown Curtis Persons, who used to be head of the Senate Judiciary Committee, who also worked as a special judge for juvenile court, because the regular judge was a sixth grade dropout. The state Supreme Court had declared that he was incompetent to preside over a case. So he got it passed. Somebody needs to undo that corruption.
I just don't.
First time I appeared in that court back in 1973 or 74, representing some people for legal services, this fool thought I was on his docket, and he called me the N-word, and I went off on his ass. And they locked my ass up for 5 days. The only time this has happened to a retired judge in the history of the state of Tennessee. And that's because they were getting revenge because of what I did. And I stood up for a woman they were trying to abuse down there. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. And that sleazy-ass Harold Horn needs his ass kicked. He's been sitting there ruining black folk for the last 30 years. Of course, I'm being figurative because somebody is probably listening, and he'll turn me in, and somebody will say I should be prosecuted for threatening a sitting judge, except he's not a judge. He's just a lawyer who was initially hired because the bastard, Kenneth Turner, glad his gay behind is dead for the wrong he had been doing, couldn't hear cases, so he hired all these lawyers to sit for what he got elected to do but couldn't do. It's a shame.
Well, that's a lot of, there's a lot of corruption, like it's like a lot of corruption that is wade through. I'm thinking about these mayoral candidates as you talk about these things. I'm just thinking about who can we trust to really take on all this massive corruption and do the right thing by the people.
Doc Harrington, and the reason they badmouth Harrington is he actually was straightening out the corruption.
Okay. He knows the system well.
Being corrupt, but it was penny change. Jock made millions of dollars being on the board of directors for General Motors, IBM, and major corporations. He didn't need this old chicken change these people accused him of. They come out, you got 20 grand. Like, damn, you're getting $200,000 per meeting.
Yeah, I don't think he's corrupt. He like money, you know.
He just dishonest clowns up. And then the other thing, when Shep Wilburn got appointed as juvenile court clerk, which was surprising, he talked to me, and I had the late Judge Otis Higgs swear him in a couple of days early. And he had Randy Wade, who was with the sheriff's department, deputized some deputies to act for him, and they went down and seized all of these records at juvenile court. And we looked through them, and quite a number of our black elected officials had 14, 25, 10, 11, 9 children through juvenile court. And from reading the letters in the file, it was just flat out blackmail. They were trying to take all that stuff out, put it in file boxes, and they had a flatbed loaded up when the deputies seized the truck. And also, we got to look at the records out of First Tennessee, where they had been taking tax dollars, putting it into a sequestered non-interest-bearing account and using it as collateral for personal loans, car loans, home loans, and campaign finance.
This is child support money, right?
Yeah.
This is what?
See, one of the things that went in it is like there's an unsung, unreported thing right now. A lot of people, you know, they get money taken out they think is FICA. And then a wife says, baby, what is this? Oh, that's FICA or something. No, it's not. And then they check, and they got a daughter, 42 years old, been married years, and find out that they've been getting money taken out of their checks for child support for a 42-year-old child. And then in one bad case I know, the person, the father, had custody of the child since she was 12 years old. Here she is 30 years later, and he finds out they're still taking money out of his check for child support.
Whoa.
Goes up to Nashville and finds out every time she hits 18 on the books, they set her age back 5 years. So he's been trying to get his money back. The woman hasn't gotten it. The child hasn't gotten it. Where did it go? It goes in these accounts.
There ain't no way. That's not. I don't see how nobody goes to jail.
They ought to be in a federal or a state penitentiary.
Right. Well, how does like nobody goes to jail though? Y'all got the paper trail.
Well, that's why we had Brother Stanton III as U.S. attorney, and he was supposed to have taken care of that. If it had been somebody black with a white prosecutor, there'd have been all kinds of federal trials. He wanted to be a judge, so he kept his mouth shut, you know, didn't do his job.
Wow. I guess this is believable. I can't say it's unbelievable. I'll be lying to myself. This should not surprise me one bit. Man, how you keep from not, like, how you keep believing? Do you believe that this system can actually work for the benefit of?
Yeah, it could.
Okay.
It's like this. Let's take football or baseball or basketball. Everybody watches basketball. Well, there's some rules for basketball, right?
Mm-hmm.
The rules are the same for each team, right?
Yes, sir.
So it's who's playing the game that determines who's winning rather than the rules.
Okay.
If there's corruption, it's sometimes the hometown referees call questionable calls in favor of the home team.
Right.
But it's not the rules, it's the people applying the rules.
Mm-hmm.
So the system probably is the best humans have ever invented, but the problem is some of the people who are applying the rules are some pretty screwed up people, and they're corrupt. One of the worst things, and we studied this when I was in the 5th grade in California, they said one of the problems with the government in the South is that they are part-time positions for these elected officials. They're paid very little money, so they strive to spend 5 times as much as they make in 1 year to be elected so they can use the position not for the good of many, but so that they can use their influence to make more money on the side. See, that was at a time when a California elected official got a very lucrative salary, and around here in Tennessee didn't hardly get anything. Until recently, these people weren't getting paid but $4,000 a year. Then it went up to 8, 12, and now I think it's 20-some thousand a year for a part-time gig. They got to spend a lot of time for it. What comes of it? A lot of corruption. But everybody's got stuff under the table, over the table. It's ridiculous. The Board of Education out here has a board attorney that's supposed to handle all the business for the County Board of Education. They hired this law firm, Birch, Porter, and Johnson, at $300 to $1,200 an hour to do routine work. Birch, Porter, and Johnson kicks back the money to the Republican Party and other folk because they are allowed to, since they are incorporated, and the Supreme Court reinforced its decisions from the 1870s where they say the 15th Amendment applies to fictional people as well as real people, and corporations are fictitious people, therefore you cannot constrain what they do politically. There's corruption.
So when you telling me that people that
table corruption,
well, people that have no money should not be in politics in the first place. If you're not independently wealthy or have a certain type of means of income to support your lifestyle, you should not get into politics at all.
Well, I think when you get somebody broke getting into politics, and after he gets in a few years, he's a wealthy man, something's wrong. Look at the Clintons. Clinton worked as a governor for 5 terms for Arkansas, which at the time varied from the least pay for governor to 3rd least pay for governor. Hillary reported 1 or 2 years where she made a couple of $100,000 practicing law. And she became first lady. She got a stipend. He became president. He got a president's salary, civil service. But in a few months, the family's worth $68-69 million. Goldman Sachs, she reported, raised $13 million for her for speaking over 14 months. And it turned out when they released all of the information from the emails and everything, she lied, which is perjury because she had to swear to this. It was 26, not 13 million. And remember when they were campaigning and Bernie kept saying, we need to see a transcript of the speeches? You know what he was really saying? It wasn't about what you said. It was about the fact that you didn't say anything except thank you for the check. Glad to be here. I'll carry on.
Wow. And you know, not to even speak about what their stuff they got going on in Haiti, the Clinton Foundation is ridiculous.
Yeah, and you got a blatant racist who campaigned for that racist Barry Goldwater when she was still in high school as a Goldwater girl. You got somebody that campaigned to keep the Chicago suburbs segregated, somebody that campaigned to keep the University of Illinois segregated, and hell, all the colored folk in love with Missy in the big house.
Yeah, and also, I think about even with the Biden, with the crime bill, but also the fact that, you know, the Ku Klux Klan was invented by Democrats, like Albert Pike and Nathan Bedford Forrest. They were Democrats.
Yeah.
You know, people don't want to talk about that. Why are we so loyal to these people? They don't give us nothing. They haven't given us nothing since the 60s.
We don't think. It's just what these folk got raised in. See, they got born into the Democratic Party because they aren't old enough to remember the goddamn Dixiecrats.
Right.
Racist bastards. And, well, there were but 3 or 4 of them that went over. That's just the elected people. All of the rest of the workers and party members that went over, and all of those folk that walked out in the 68 convention, you know, to indicate they were going over to the Republican Party. Yeah, that's where it was. So the Republican Party picked up those vile Dixiecrats. Albus and Stennis, and then they name an aircraft carrier after John B. Stennis. They got 5,000 sailors on it, including a warship named after a racist bastard.
Wow. Yeah, we don't have. I don't think we have a short memory. We have no memory. I don't think we understand none of this. this type of loyalty is ridiculous. I mean, I really, like you said before, if we set out 2020, what's going to be the harm, really?
You know what? I would say not only should we sit it out and let's see what happens without us in there, we need to see evil come in without us. If it is, and I think it won't be as bad as what we get now. At least somebody might give us a crumb instead of everything going to the rainbow.
Yeah. And I also want to ask you this as well. I know what happened the other day on Sunday with Robert Smith, the multi-billionaire. He promised to pay off the $40 million student loan debt of the graduating class of Morehouse College. What are your thoughts about that?
How discomforted are you by buying yourself a can of beer? Are you?
Say it again, Judge, about the beer.
How much did you set back your financial situation by buying yourself a 16-ounce can of Bud Light? That's what you drink?
No, not that much.
That's it. You got $1 billion at your disposal. Paying off one small class worth of students' their loans is nothing. And I always said it's nice, but, you know, if you can afford it and it doesn't hurt you doing it, you haven't done all that much. You haven't really done anything until you do something that hurts, that's painful. I wasn't a billionaire. I might have been if it weren't for the last wife I had, who was a fool, but when it came to money stuff. But essentially, there's a point where you can make enough money you don't have to ask how much something costs. You say, I like that. Wrap that up.
All right. You got real money then. That's real wealth.
Yeah, I was at that position. CBS claimed the only person in syndicated television who was making more money than me was Judge Judy. I was beating Oprah every week in the ratings, Phil every week in the ratings, and stepping on Judy's heels. But every time I caught up with and passed her, CBS would exercise a different option for her ratings so she'd stay ahead. They didn't want the straight black man being number one. They'd rather a nice little Jewish woman who was a man hater be number one. And they were going to make sure that happens. Anytime they get a straight black guy, they try to see if he'll get the indication he might swing a little bit. Then they'll back off. But if not, they'll make what money they can. And even if they're still making money off of you, when you start getting to that threshold where you're really starting to be big and nobody will ever forget you, then they'll cut your throat and get rid of you, not for business purposes, not because you fell in the ratings, or let's put it this way, not because your relative ratings were worse than they were when everybody's ratings are falling because of the new media methodologies they have. Then they'll cut you.
Is that what happened to Steve Harvey when he lost all 3 of his shows?
He started getting political and making a social commentary that had effect. He worked hard at making sure he kept the job. I would never have done a lot of things he did, but he did them, but that wasn't enough.
But, you know, he kind of exposed himself in that Monique interview he did about, he basically said he didn't care about his integrity. He just want the money. He was chasing the bag.
Well, yeah, I know, but he said more than that. He said black people need to get over some of the things they say and start dealing with the fact that nowhere in the world, you know, do people disregard money talks, bullshit walks. In essence, he didn't use those words.
What do you think about what he said about, you know, rich people don't sleep, you know, like poor people?
They don't. I'm a success. I slept 3 hours, 4.5 hours a night. All these people that got to get 8 hours of sleep, they don't make it big. You can't make it big sleeping a lot, getting all your rest.
I guess you can say what's on your mind. You ain't worried about it. I heard that. So
no, I got in my 8 hours sleep. Yeah, that's why your ass so damn broke.
So you think what do you think about people that they kind of laugh at people when they're on their way down. Like when people are down and out, people like it's like a lot of folks take pleasure.
Look, let me say this: he's not down and out.
Mm-hmm.
If he ever worked a day in his life again, he still would have an income much greater than the average person. I'm retired, and off of what I put away, hell, if I don't do anything, no residual anything, I got $500,000 coming in anyway.
Mm.
And then I got residuals and other stuff from every time they do a rerun, commercials I do and stuff like that. So, I ain't suffering. Got a house, not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Had it before I got married. I got rid of 3 properties that, I had about $15 million worth of houses.
Well, what about, okay, like I talked about Robert Smith, paying off the debt of the college students, and I saw online yesterday that Ford Motor Company is going to cut 7,000 white collar paying jobs. So, like, where are you? Like, you look.
Why is Ford cutting these jobs?
That's a good question.
Ford, found on roadside disabled, found on roadside dead. It's a piss poor automobile.
Mm.
Continental town car is still useful because they have a substantial transmission in it that limo companies like. The brakes are not progressive. They're that old-time power brake where if you step on it slightly, the whole damn car wants to skid to a stop, and you got to go through all kinds of changes about feathering it, rather than having a progressive power brake where you got to step down harder and harder so it feels like a brake. Cadillac took an off-the-shelf transmission that's a piece of crap, so Cadillacs don't last as limos unless you get the SUV edition.
Wow.
So, I mean, Ford does some crap. Like Ford is laying off because guess what? The only street car they make is the Mustang. Everything else is a truck or an SUV.
Mm-hmm.
It's not surprising. Piss poor business. Because you've got management that's more interested in being a millionaire by the time they get 50 than they are about making the company a success. All these old-time robber barons, every damn one of them was not about to let the company go to hell, whatever they wanted out of it.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, because even they was willing to kill for what they want in terms of their product, getting it right. A lot of folks died behind that. So, what do you think? Why do you think things are going to hell right now in terms of quality of product?
Because they have emasculated the country.
Okay.
And they've gotten rid of the masculine component of the yin-yang balance, or yin-yang, depending on how you pronounce it.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of logic, rationality, reason, discernment, obligation, duty, responsibility, and honor is do your thing, do what you want to do.
So you think that really, that in hindsight, what we talking about, the piss poor quality of some of these cars, that Ralph Nader, what he was doing, was a good thing as far
Ralph
as
Nader was a bullshit artist.
Okay, why you say that?
Well, first off, I actually drove a Corvair. I got a 911 Porsche out here, twin turbo, custom from the factory. That when I got it was 150K. When I put the wheels on it, that ramped it up to almost 200 grand with the modifications. It's a fine car. The closest American car to that is a Corvair. And Ralph Nader's talking about unsafe at any speed. The problem is that rich folk, well-to-do folk, bought the Porsches, and they knew how to drive because they were enthusiasts. The ordinary person could buy the car, and if he was an enthusiast, fine. He had a damn fine, well-behaved, maneuverable car that was the closest American equivalent to a Porsche, but was cheap enough for a lot of people who can't drive worth a damn to have one. Like you see that fat-ass white woman on the Liberty Mutual commercial. She talks about all the spreadsheets she made up trying to pick the car and then wrapped it around a tree so maybe since the insurance company is mad at her, maybe she needed to change insurance companies instead of spending all that time picking the car when you're so inept driving it that you wrap it around a damn tree.
Mm.
Or what's this other thing? I hate them. These little bitty Fords, these Subaru, these Hondas, and this kind of ilk, the little bitty ones that, you know, are for these people that don't need a driver's license because they have 7-second attention spans and the car's got to stop for them so they don't rear end somebody or weave over the line and cause a wreck. Well, every time you pass one of the damn things, if you got a radar detector, it sets it off.
Mm.
You know, that kind of crap. The kind that get in the fast lane, never look in the damn rear view mirror and got 2 miles worth of traffic backed up behind them. And won't move their tired behind over doing 50 and a 55 with a mile and a half of vacant lane in front of them. They won't rent to anybody.
Wow. Mm.
See, that's that loss of the masculine principle. Move the hell over and have some courtesy. See, you start thinking like a woman. You start thinking like everybody opens the door for me, pulls the chair out for me, yields to me as I walk by. You get in the car, it gets a little difficult. But if you got a dick and you start thinking like that, you start acting like the women do.
Mm.
See, women, you get away with it. I'm not going to lie. You know, somebody cuts you off in the car and you get to cussing and then see it's a fine woman. You say, oh, hell, baby, cut me off again with your fine-looking self. Now they want to talk about body shaming because it's an ugly chick that's 150 pounds overweight, needs to go into the gym instead of spending 4 hours up in a beauty salon, spending $400 she doesn't have to get weave in her head or get her nails done. Go to the gym. You look a lot better.
Feel better,
Women
too.
don't look as good as they used to look.
Mm. I know. I hate when I meet. Yeah.
What did I joke about telling you? A friend of mine went to Atlanta, came back and said, Joe, man, I saw the finest woman I'd ever laid eyes on. I got the nerve enough to go over and talk to her and found out it was a boy.
Yeah, that'll surprise me.
Yeah, but you see what's happening? What's happening to the girls? I've gone to some towns. Okay, for example, there is a restaurant in Memphis called Southern Comfort.
Mm-hmm.
It's upscale. It is costing you if you go in there. But all of the girls that work there are pretty.
Mm.
They got a few black ones that are pretty. These are some nice, go to the gym, work out, and they smile and they grin. I mean, it's like Baptist Hospital. I was sick. I was in there for almost a month.
Mm-hmm.
I started joking with the nurses. I said, you know, if I was a young man, I'd be coming up in here hanging instead of going to a nightclub. You have prettier women up in here than I've seen any place in this city for years.
Mm.
And you see, they get hired in from outside of the state, come in, and they work there.
Mm-hmm.
So they got all these pretty girls working up in the hospital.
Mm.
You go to a nightclub, it looks like they have a WNFL. Women's National Football League up there, and most of the women in there look like they're linemen or line women.
Mm-hmm.
Playing tackle and guard and defensive tackle, defensive end, center, and all that mess.
Mm.
Linebacker.
Is that bad? Well, you know what? I hate when.
You know it's that bad.
Yeah, I will tell you.
You're a young man.
Yeah, I hate when the women don't look like their pictures, like they use a lot of filters. You know how people use filters on their social media pictures, and when you see them in person,
China dolls.
yeah, it's like, man, you don't even look like your picture. I couldn't even recognize it.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
False advertising.
It's very much so, but it's like, yeah. Go ahead, Jeff.
And let me tell you something. I was in Southern Comfort, and I was looking at that. My date and I were talking about it. I said, you know what's interesting?
Mm-hmm.
When you and I were younger, talking to my date, I said, those girls would have been upset if somebody didn't tell them how good they looked. She said, you're right. And now, if you told them they look good, they were talking about you guilty of molestation or some kind of wrongdoing.
Mm-hmm.
So what the hell happened? She said, I used to dress and I was feeling good and smile if a man said, dear, you're really looking good. You go in there and tell one of these girls that they're looking good and they'd be insulted all in a huff because they've been taught falsely that somehow or another that's insulting.
Right.
You know, we dress for ourselves. We don't dress for men. What the hell's wrong with you?
Well, you know what? I want to bring it in though, Judge. That's a good segue into like the situation with Steph Curry's wife. Like people got mad about her saying that she wanted basically male groupies, people to look at her and make her feel good.
Well, yeah, there's that. There's role reversal.
Okay.
See, the truth of the matter is, for most of the planet's history, healthy males, healthy men, you know what their business has been?
What?
It's about the pursuit, acquisition, and enjoyment of nookie.
Mm.
Whether you were a king, potentate, general, or somebody, you were about the pursuit, acquisition, and enjoyment of nookie.
Mm.
And nowadays, the boys don't even get it. And I get a lot of them confessing to me when I talk to them after, the restaurants close. I just sort of hang and they come over and talk. And so many of them are freaked out. Say, I got to confide in you, Judge. It's just, I'm really freaked out about something. I came downstairs when I was in junior high school to get a glass of water. And my mother and this girlfriend of hers were naked down on the couch doing stuff. Her head was down toward the other one's feet.
Wow.
But waist deep, and the other one was doing the same thing. I was saying, what were they doing? They had their legs spread. And then I later learned, I just said, what was my mama doing naked, wiggling around with this other woman naked? And I've heard that a whole lot.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And these boys have a complex about that. But you listen to the Rainbow Bunch, everything's supposed to be all right. From what I'm having confided to me, it ain't all right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't, man, it's just, so Judge, would you say that homosexuality is a mental illness then? It used to be classified as a mental illness.
Well, you know what? To see something I haven't heard in 55 years. I used to make money when I was on campus at UCLA, working over in the biology department, cleaning up these rat warrens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where they had rats in these environments where they were conducting experiments. And one of them, they had quite a few rat runs in a large segment of the bio department. Psychology department was involved in it too. And they had identified the rats in question as alphas, betas, et cetera, all the way down to omegas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So they started artificially stressing out the rats. And based on their assessment of what was alpha and what was at the bottom of the pack, omega, starting with the omegas, they started dealing with homosexual activity. And then as it got more and more stressed, it worked up the ladder until they got to, never to the alpha group, but at least halfway through the pack, they were engaged in more and more homosexual behavior. And their conclusion was it was a built-in population control device, something like these lemmings. They're rodents that overpopulate Scandinavia.
Mm-hmm.
And when the crowd gets too big, what they wind up doing is they all jump off a cliff and swim out to the middle of the ocean and drown. And it leaves just a few ones that didn't go swimming left, and that reduces the population. So they were saying the gay thing was a population control device that got brought out more and more in times of stress. I remember they did this thing about Greece. They had a bad homosexual problem in Greece.
Mm-hmm.
And distinctly recall the analysis. Greece does not have good farmland. So it is a stressful thing trying to support a large population. So, as a form of birth control, when a man had a wife or a mistress or a girlfriend, instead of doing regular sex, they would do anal sex so the woman wouldn't get pregnant. They'd only do vaginal sex if they were trying to get her pregnant because they wanted a family thing, an heir or whatever they were trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, what happened is because they were so attuned to anal sex, what went on was the boys would do boys and it just transferred over, and that took the strain off of dealing with male female, which had a chance of what the hell, I don't want the booty tonight, I want the nookie tonight, you know.
Wow.
So it was a population control device. Rome, interesting enough, Rome is known for its licentious behavior.
Mm-hmm.
But most people don't know that during Republican Rome and during Imperial Roman times, it was a capital offense to engage in homosexuality. It was a death penalty. People just flaunted it, but it was against the law. But nowadays, you have that group that would have flaunted it anyway, but they are approved, so you double the number. I've read statistics that say you have about 4.2% of the population naturally being homosexual men, and the women, I think, is 4.6 or something like that. I've read somewhere around there. That's not the range, the total range, but that's my average. I average out what they said. And then they added that when you approve of homosexuality, the numbers double. So that would mean you'd have about 9 going on 10% of the males in the population would practice homosexuality, and about that many women, which would make it 20% of the population if everybody did it. If it was those who could restrain themselves, but from social approbation didn't, then you'd have about 9% of the population.
But the media make it like it's half the population doing it.
Yeah. And like, I grew up in L.A., and I was back there 15 years, lived out there, worked in Hollywood for a long time. The only way you'd see as much homosexuality as you see in the movies, openly, like they have in the movies,
Mm-hmm.
is if you went down and walked through or drove through the Boys Club, which was a section of Santa Monica Boulevard from La Cienega to you get to Beverly Hills.
Mm.
And that's the Boys Club, and all of these clubs had names like the Flaming Rage or the Fiery Roar or stuff like that. I always wanted to put rage in it. Everything, like, being a rage about everything.
Wow.
But, you know, they have a right to do that. It's just not the thing to be spreading around.
Well, you talk about population control. What do you think about this surge of interest in abortion bans? Is this
from Alabama? That's a setup. The
Okay.
religious right has sponsored that, and they don't think it's realistic. But what they want to do is make it so bad that they can be sure that somebody will challenge it, and it will get in front of this Supreme Court so they can get a reversal of Roe v. Wade. Now, I don't really think Trump's additions are going to be for overturning Roe v. Wade, but I can see that Obama's 2 Catholic lesbian appointments might be.
Now
He didn't do it well. He could have gotten anybody he wanted in for his first 2 nominations. Did he nominate a black man to offset that scoundrel Clarence Thomas? No. He nominated 2 Catholic lesbians.
Wow, it's interesting. Also, what you think about? I mean, I know you're you value free speech. Your thoughts about the so-called social media ban on Louis Farrakhan and Alex Jones
That's
and other people?
ridiculous. That's what I just said earlier this evening.
Mm-hmm.
There is a peculiar trend that is the left has abandoned its role as watchdog to protect citizens' rights, particularly First Amendment free speech rights, and it has become the most egregious oppressor when it comes to individual rights. They have propaganda, and as Joseph Goebbels said, that's the Nazi minister of propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
He said, if the state or the movement chooses to base itself on a lie, its worst enemy is the truth, and the truth, which will banish the lie by its obvious quality, must be prohibited and suppressed at all costs. So what you get is left-wing organizations that are rainbow oriented are doing everything they can to suppress free speech if they don't like what is being said, whereas they used to raise hell if their speech was constrained.
Yeah.
Now, I have a firm opinion they got a right to do what they want to do when it comes to advocacy. However, when it comes around to the issue of what you do as public policy to impact children, particularly, we got to say, and we can push back whether or not it's Hillary Sailboat Clinton or it's Donald Trump or Joe Gay Biden.
Mm.
He's gay.
Oh,
So
Joe Gay, Creepy Joe.
Yeah,
hand.
I have talked to somebody's plural, who went to school with Obama, and they talk about how gay he was, like he had a scandal on Law Review. He couldn't keep his hands off of the white boys, and how they even jumped him for always bad-mouthing black people. Said he couldn't stand them.
Mm.
When he was in college. So, there it is, but we love us some colored boy that looks like us, even if he wasn't there and no way close to us. He is not ADOS. I like that term, ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves or Slavery. And if we got reparations, the interesting thing is the president that looked like us wouldn't qualify because he has no black American ancestors who have any experience in the United States. He has no American black ancestors.
What about his wife and daughters then? Would they
Well,
be?
they might, but not him.
I mean, that whole thing, man, that 8 years, I don't know what to make of it now in hindsight.
It was ridiculous. We got a con game run on us. I told people, person after, Judge, what's wrong with you? Joe, why you got that answer? Man, he's a fake. He's not going to give us a damn thing. I said, I make a prediction. If that fake Negro does not have at least 50,000 pages of proposed legislation by week number 3 of his administration, he's a fake, and he didn't. Every other single president for the last 80 years has had that by second week of his administration. All of these folk in his cabinet drawing this stuff up that worked for him administratively to get it together, and Obama had nothing. The only thing that got drafted was the economic incentive plan by Geithner, his Treasury Secretary.
Who didn't pay his taxes.
He actually had $48 million worth of tax evasion, and he got a 6-month sentence and a $42,000 fine. Wesley Snipes got convicted of 3 counts of failure to file a complete set of forms, and IRS, and I was there for the hearings, testified that he had overpaid his taxes by $250,000. He got 3 years.
And this stuff is insanity. I don't see how people.
I know it is.
It's just Well, Joe, I just like, okay, you look at the hypocrisy of it all. I mean, like you said, it's not necessarily the game, it's the people who officiate the game that makes it crooked and how they
And the
apply.
people that play the game that take bribes and playoffs,
Yeah.
that's like they threw the World Series one time, 1916.
Oh, yeah, the Black Sox, 1919 Black Sox. Yeah, yes, sir. But it's Chicago, though, right? And Obama's from Chicago.
Yeah,
The game is
yeah,
always fixed in Chicago. But my thing is,
yeah,
why are people? I
yeah.
talk to
You
women,
remember Chicago? Al Capone killed a whole lot of people. They couldn't take him down. They had to get him for tax evasion.
and then he paid his taxes. He probably never went to jail.
That's
So,
right.
even on illegal activities, because they say you had to pay, even if you were doing illegal activities, you still can file
Yeah,
taxes on that.
that's right.
But okay, but like okay,
I've had clients that IRS hit up for not paying taxes on bank robberies.
yeah, I mean this stuff is crazy, man.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, so you on all you think about you. Do you feel like being a lawyer and becoming a judge was the best career path for you in your life? Was that the
Nope, I
best?
never wanted to be one.
Okay, you never wanted to be a lawyer or a judge.
Neither.
Wow. Okay, you thought you were pretty good at it though.
Yeah, I'm smart.
So why can't we get more people like you to run for office? In terms of like,
Because how many leaders has humanity had? Very few.
hmm
I mean, at the top, you could think of them. Most people know a lot of hero leaders from elementary school. So, in other words, throughout humanity, the people that moved humanity forward have been few. It wasn't everybody that came up with the advancement. It was the Newtons, the Einsteins, the Fermis, and all of this kind of stuff. It was the early mathematicians and politicians and early kings and potentates and chiefs and all that other stuff. It was somebody that invented a new way of making a stone axe after it had been pretty consistent for 20,000 years. Just imagine that, where you make a tool the same for 20,000 years and no change. And look at what you do now.
Can't make an iPhone last.
Yeah, every 20 damn days there's a significant change. And they went 20,000 years before they changed from Acheulean hand axe technology.
Wow. Well,
And it wasn't a whole bunch of folk. It was just a few that did that. We'd still be living in caves if it wasn't for just a few human beings.
Yeah.
So that's what makes leadership so valuable. We don't have any in the black culture in America. We used to have leaders like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King assassinated. Chicago, the Black Panthers.
Yeah, Fred Hampton. Yeah.
Hampton. You got stuff like that. Now it's just some foolish rap artist who gets smoked off for nothing behind a nonsensical generated thing. And then the problem with all of that is it's so ridiculous. They got some white gangsters that do everything at the top and gangsterize these folk trying to go for bad.
Mm-hmm.
I used to have a neighbor. He's the one, he admitted it, and I'd heard it back in the 60s when somebody put a pistol to Barry Gordy's head and said he's going to die if this organization did not get 15% off the top. So he wound up being one of my neighbors in a condo. He told me about it.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson 5. Jackson 5 was supposed to have won the Motown contest for the best group at the 66 Watts Festival. They didn't win. They were in fourth place. I was there. Mm-hmm. So this neighbor of mine said he called and gave them instructions to change what got sent to the L.A. Times. So the Jackson 5 were the winners because he said they needed a boy band.
Wow.
They didn't have a colored boy band. And they got a bunch of little rat-faced guys that couldn't sing worth a damn. They sound like drowning rats, in my opinion. I was grown when they started. Never could stand the music. They They're a bunch of freaks, perverts, and everything else.
Mm.
We got bamboozled into glorifying them.
Wow.
Unmanly bunch of freaks.
But does it says a lot about this generation that they will, like, take a rapper and make them on the status of a Malcolm or a Martin?
Yeah, they're giving rap artists whose business is distraction, spreading dysfunction to mess us up, and they get the status of being cultural heroes.
But whose fault is that? You think it's the young people's fault, or is it the fact that
they follow it, don't they?
I mean, but like, what do they have? Like, you had like Malcolms and Muhammad Ali's and Martin Luther King's. We don't have that. This generation now don't have people like that per se. I mean, is that they want that? They want it.
They think everything's supposed to be given to them, and they look at man, it's about pimping, man, about moving merchandise, dysfunctional stuff.
But you think people crave that though? Like, like how the young people rally around Bernie Sanders back in 2016. You don't think the younger people crave that type of leadership? They crave that type of wisdom and integrity.
Yeah, they do.
So is it their fault that they gotta worship celebrities then? I mean, that's all they're given. Like you said, there's no leadership really for people to. I mean, I look at Mr. Farrakhan, right? Who's gonna take his place after he makes his transition? What leaders you could think of in the nation or whatever that's going to follow behind him?
The problem with Mr. Farrakhan, Minister Farrakhan, with due respect, is he's a preacher.
Yeah, he is a religious person. He's a religious leader. Yeah.
Yeah, he's very good. He's profound at what he does. Great man.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't be an effective leader like we need if you're a religious person, because you're supposed to be saving souls, not telling folks to go to hell, literally, but doing what they got to do to be free. See, hell's full of heroes.
Mm-hmm. Hell's full of heroes. Nat Turner, John Brown, they had to kill some people. They had to kill people in order to get, there ain't no such thing, like you said, a bloodless revolution. Like Malcolm said, there ain't no such thing as a bloodless revolution. Never has, never will be. People got to die.
Mm-hmm.
People dying anyway, though.
We're ready to die to see Jesus, but we're not ready to die to be free.
Yeah, I think that's kind of, it is crazy. It ain't kind of crazy. That's kind of insane that people think like that. It's like with the cop killing, people keep on saying, "No, how are we gonna stop them from doing this?" But your grandfather, what they do? They fought back, and a lot of us would not be here if it was for people like your grandfather fighting back the way they did and responding in a certain way. I don't understand why we fight for this country. Some of the best soldiers are black. I mean, look at the Harlem Hellfighters. Look at so many, like, look at the Buffalo Soldiers. They won the West. The Buffalo Soldiers won the West for the government, but yet,
Speaking of which, I got an update if anybody's interested.
Mm-hmm.
Roscoe Brown, Professor Dr. Roscoe Brown, Captain Roscoe Brown of the 332nd Airmen, Tuskegee Airmen.
Mm-hmm.
After they've done computer rationalization of the Luftwaffe records that they got when East Germany got free of the Soviet Union,
mm-hmm.
they've discovered that he's currently the second highest scoring ace in the U.S. Army Air Force in Europe World War II.
Wow.
And they freely acknowledged that the 332nd was the highest scoring group for the last 9 months of World War II in Europe.
Also, they actually going to admit that.
They've admitted that now.
But did it, like, they said that Tuskegee Airmen once didn't lose no bomber, but they did lose some bombers, right, that they escorted?
They never lost the bomber that they escorted.
Okay, that still holds up.
Got shot down by anti-aircraft, but there was nothing you can do about that. But not one bomber they escorted got shot down by an enemy fighter plane.
Okay, just like with the Harlem Hellfighters back in World War I, they never lost any ground or lost a soldier to enemy catcher, and they was under fire longer than any other Allied force for 191 straight days. And we don't talk about our greatness as a people, man. We're some of the best soldiers. And discipline, like you said, what General Grant said about the U.S. colored troops. But why can't we be that disciplined and that focus when it comes to us fighting for ourselves?
Plus, we got taken over by our women.
Okay. Wow. And go ahead, Judge.
Can put humanity in a boy's head. they can't cause him to lead like he's supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
See, they like their children. And black women don't have the gumption that say Spartan mothers had, where they said, son, come back with your shield on and do or die. Our mothers don't have that in them to tell their sons to do that. Their sons don't have a purpose and they die any damn way, but for nothing.
Right.
And they get gunned down by police. Like that guy that had a permit and got shot by the cop.
The Philando Castile, something in Minnesota?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing. I had several cases, some that actually got videoed. Somebody got shot right in the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Got up after he had his heart completely destroyed, walked 7 yards, sat down, and timing it on the video, talked for about 15 seconds. After 10 seconds, he said he couldn't see anymore, and then at 15, he just fainted, slid off the side of his motorcycle, dead. Well, fainted, but he never woke back up, but his heart's destroyed, so he died quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't hit the central nervous system, a human will live it consciously at least 10 to 15 seconds after you completely destroyed his respiratory system or his heart.
Mm-hmm.
At the party thing, four us folks shot Bunchy Carter and John Huggins in the UCLA cafeteria in 1968. John Huggins got his aorta wrecked and the two top chambers of his heart destroyed. He set up and fired 6 shots at his assailant with a .357. Hit one of them in the back.
Mm-hmm.
But they got him out of there, so here's what it is. So when that guy got shot fatally by the cop, knew he was dying, he should have shot that fool right between his eyes.
Yeah, it's like, but we're probably thinking about going to Jesus, and now we think.
Yeah. See, if somebody's gonna do that to you, you take them to Valhalla with you.
Yeah, it sounds it's self-defense, but like.
Wait. You're dying. What the hell difference does it make?
I agree with you. It's like, well, they said it was
killed you. You know he had no reason to kill you. So if he's killed you, you're going to die from what he's already done to you. Take him with you.
But it's like kind of like with Malcolm, that it's this story that go around with Malcolm. He went out to L.A. when the LAPD basically killed those brothers at the mosque or at the temple in L.A., and Malcolm wanted to go to war with the LAPD. He wanted to go out there and get into shootouts and stuff with the LAPD. But Elijah Muhammad told him to stand down. You can't do that.
Yeah.
But he got guns from the mob and everything.
Elijah Muhammad was thinking about his religious empire.
Right. Well, Malcolm was from the streets, though. He was Detroit.
I said
mm-hmm.
A preacher is what we need to get free.
And I understand, like, Elijah Muhammad was taking some money from some interesting sources as well, too.
I don't know. But
I heard
preachers are supposed to be saving souls, not getting you free.
Well, we had some freedom. Like, Nat Turner was a minister. I mean, a preacher.
He didn't get us free, did he?
No.
Even Mark VC, too.
Right. He was a minister. Yeah.
Martin Luther King was telling us to be peaceful and to get down on our knees and pray loudly and let folks beat us across the head until they felt guilty about it, which wasn't getting free. That wasn't a struggle. That's getting your ass whooped.
Yeah. I just couldn't go along. But you know what? I think he was about to figure it out at the end, and they shot him in the face. He was actually trying to come around to that point where he got to deal with these.
He used to carry a gun,
mm-hmm.
but by arresting that gay friend of his, talked him out of it.
Wow.
You said it doesn't fit being nonviolent.
Yeah, I just don't understand how you could justify like being nonviolent if they raping your wife. Would you be nonviolent then?
I wouldn't be. Look, my threshold for violence starts a lot earlier than rape and wife.
Mm-hmm.
it ain't even getting close to that. It's like, okay, you're thinking wrong.
Let me correct you.
Now make a move to back up that corruption you're thinking. You know, I know the law. I'm not going to break the law. Don't have to.
But why are we teaching our kids to be afraid of the police? Like, I be hearing football coaches say, y'all don't just do whatever they tell you to do. What if it's wrong what they trying? What if they tell you to do something?
Put it this way. Let's put it this way. As a pragmatic matter, pick your fight. If you can avoid the need for fight by following somebody's instructions who's got a gun, do it. Most of the people the coach is talking to are not going to be packing. And if they are packing and it ain't legal, they're going to go to jail. So if you're legal, you're cool, you got a backup. If somebody shoots you like they did that legally armed man, then you shoot back.
Right.
You're defending yourself. You're going to die anyway. That's the deal.
Yes.
Be legal. Don't break the law. But don't sit there and let somebody else kill you breaking the law.
Don't worry about okay, it's the situation with black women in Texas and the law. Like you hear what Sandra Bland happened to her a couple of years ago. Then a lady, Pamela Turner, who got shot by the police. I mean, like you a judge.
I saw that thing.
Yeah, what do you think about that? Could they have been aborted?
That thing with Pamela Turner.
Yeah.
That cop had no justification for shooting her. He was Hispanic, by the way, not just ordinary white. He had no reason to shoot her, and he's a coward because he was scared. And what she did was turn his taser on him. Now, the taser is supposed to be what? A non-lethal device.
Right.
So if he's using a non-lethal device on this woman and she uses it on him, then what the hell is he doing using lethal force on her?
I just think he felt embarrassed about the situation that this woman was able to take him. He
might have been. But then again, the woman went way out of line. She's been believing this propaganda that she can hang with trying to jack some full-grown man. It ain't going to happen.
He just should have waited for backup then. She just called for backup. You couldn't. I mean, it's unfortunate.
She didn't have backup, and her best thing was is the video had sound to it. She should have just shut up. See, women have been looking at too much Xena Warrior Princess and Wonder Woman and all that nonsense, and they get foolish. What is it? Underworld Part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Well, what about Sandra Bland? You think she was at fault for the situation getting out of hand?
It ain't a matter of somebody being at fault. It's just if you aren't ready to die at the moment and you don't have anything to fight back with, be diplomatic.
I hear you on that, Judge. That makes a lot of sense.
I've seen women diffuse situations that were getting pretty bad. But, you know, you may even remember when if a lady walked in the room, everybody that was cussing, shut up. Man, there's a lady in the room.
Right.
Dude's mama just came in. Oh, man, I'm sorry. Now they keep cussing because the woman is probably going to cuss worse than they do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yes, sir.
Don't let anybody walk over you. But if you aren't holding anything, what the hell are you acting like you are?
See, this is another thing. That's why man training is so important for these young guys. I mean, guys getting their emotions and be thinking like women when it comes to such like that. You got to know how to...
Let me give an example of stupid behavior or thinking. And it isn't just us. I had a Japanese friend when I was in college. And I ran into him at the L.A. County Museum. We didn't intend to meet up, but I just ran into him. So we were talking about this thing with Japanese Zeros in World War II. Japanese Zeros were very maneuverable, but they had no armor to protect the pilot, and a lot of them got killed by a stray bullet that, had it hit an American fighter plane, wouldn't have done anything to the pilot. He might have had to bail out, but he wouldn't have been dead. So this guy is telling me about, you know, Bushido and all that. I said, man, that's some bullshit. Let me show you something. So you know what I did to him?
What you do?
And the reason he was down there is they had an exhibit of Japanese armor that the samurai wore.
Mm-hmm.
I pointed to a suit. I said, what the hell is that? He said, it's armor. I said, well, that's real Bushido, isn't it? Yeah, samurai, real samurai. I said, well, if they could wear armor to protect themselves from a stray sword cut, why the hell couldn't people trying to do Bushido in World War II have an armored fighter plane? And he said, shit, Joe, I never thought of that.
Wow.
So in other words, man, armor is not anti-Bushido because the real samurai wore some of the best armor ever made. He said, it looks like it, doesn't it? I said, you're damn straight. He said, I got to rethink what I've been thinking about that.
What about if they kamikaze, though? Like, they didn't carry anyone.
Oh, didn't that scare the hell out of the white Americans?
Right. You kill me.
In other words, if you come over the 7th Fleet, we'll kill you. Yeah. I'm trying to die. Oh, shit.
That's like Vietnam, right? We couldn't kill somebody who wouldn't die.
Like Vietnam. See,
okay.
That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
World War II started off, they had this cartoon Japanese soldier who had these thick glasses on, little bitty guy, bow leg, buck tooth, and they made him look like he was a clown, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to think that. Those first guys that saw those bonsai charges, you know, them motherfuckers said, that dude, he ain't like that. That's one badass son of a bitch. You know, treat him with respect. No, he just rolls on. You just wait till you get over there. Those bonsai charges scared the hell out of us. And when they started crashing those planes, those guided missiles with a human guided system into the ships, and I think they lost 8,000 or 9,000 dead soldiers, dead sailors, not counting the ones that were wounded. That scared the hell out of everybody. So, oh man, damn, you want us to go invade? And the Germans were bad enough, but the Germans would surrender. These guys don't surrender. Shit.
So they will come to A-bomb.
By the way, Japanese get respect now. Americans eat sushi. And kids don't play cowboys and Indians. They play samurai, and they don't learn how to box for the manly art of self-defense. They take karate.
There you go. Well, Judge,
change. And everybody got a Toyota, Mitsubishi, Nissan, Lexus, Infinity, or something parked up in their driveway.
So they won in the end, it sounds like.
Yeah, but they got respect. Old white guy told me 40-some years ago. He said, Lloyd Brown, he said, thing wrong with black folk in America is they never fight back. They'll fight in our causes, but they never fight in their own. They name trains and places after engines, but they don't name nothing after Negroes. He said, but I was in the Battle of the Bulls fighting them Nazis. And there's a Mercedes-Benz sitting up in my driveway. And there's a goddamn Toyota sitting up in there, too. And my brother got shot twice at Iwo Jima fighting them Japanese. But them some bad son of bitches. You don't mess with them, and them Germans was bad. But from what I hear, I'm glad I didn't have to deal with them Japanese because they was 2-3 times worse than them Germans. But they's got respect. That's why I don't particularly like it, but my wife loves her some sushi.
Wow. Yeah, sushi is very popular. You're right.
And, you know, Japanese eat hot dogs, and their national game is, guess what?
Baseball. Yeah. That's interesting how this stuff works.
Yeah.
Well, Judge Brown, I want to thank you so much for spending this time with us to talk about all these very unique and interesting topics and subjects of the day. What's the best way for us to reach you if we want to get connected with the judge?
You can find me on Twitter at Judge Joe Brown TV, but I do not have a blue check. But that's me.
And you will respond back. I know I get a lot of
messing with me. I've got 10.9K followers, right?
Right.
So I checked. There's a way you can get the actual number, and it was 10,998.
Wow.
Then it went to 10,999. Then it dropped down to 10,991. Then down to 10,986. Then it jumped up to 10,998 again. Then it dropped back down. And then I started counting. I said, since it got to that one, there 29 people said they followed me since they reduced it, because I'll take a screenshot of it and look back.
Oh, wow.
1 minute after I got that, it said you have 29 new followers. So where did they go to? I said, let's see it running a con game.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely a game, but you definitely got influence, Judge. I know people be hitting my inboxes or call me and leave like LinkedIn messages about trying to get in touch with you, but I mean, you don't practice law like that. People want these, like, they got live cases right now. And they, oh, I need a judge. I'm in Virginia or somewhere. Like, I don't know if the judge want to take on the case. But
no, I can't practice law. I'd cuss some judge out now.
But that's the type of respect you get just based on the information you share via social media.
I know. But see, there's something wrong with these judges now.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I first started practicing law, old white judge was sitting up on the bench, and this white lawyer's down there, and the judge said, Mr. So-and-so, you got a problem with the coat? Well, with due respect to the coat, yes, sir, I certainly do. So, well, you know, let's call him George. You know, George, we can resolve this here. So, Allen, he sure as hell can. So, you going to meet me outside of Benton's? That was the club they had down off of an alley. Mm-hmm. Where the criminal justice center now is now. It used to be an alley, and there was some pubs off of there. So I showed up with some other lawyers. These old guys took their coats off, ties off, rolled up their sleeves, and started boxing, and they knew how to fight, too.
Mm.
It was punching it, and then they about had heart attacks from overstressing themselves, and people stepped in and said, all right, goddamn it, Al, you made your point. Yeah, George, shit, let's go get some goddamn beer. And they flipped corners to see who was going to buy the stuff.
Mm.
You don't have that now.
Oh, no.
They got punk asses on little young, started off as young, snot-nosed, arrogant, spoiled brat, born with a silver spoon up there behind prosecutors. And they become judges, young judges, and a racist ass are sitting up there just jamming us back with some of the worst injustice I've seen. That's why I got in trouble at juvenile court. I can't take that mess anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm too old to be listening to an ass sit up there and pontificate to me a nonsense. You know, it's like I don't need to be there.
Wow. Well, you still are useful to humanity just by sharing your information and wisdom and knowledge with us via this technology. So we are.
Well, you know what happens. You're a hell of a football player. If you stay in the game, are you playing ball or are you being the coach?
Mm. Wow. Something to think about.
Or you were a hell of a soldier. After a while, you have stars on your epaulets or epaulet, and you get down there trying to go for bad, and like the troops told Grant, told Eisenhower, told Napoleon, said, sir, with due respect, would you get your ass the hell away from here? There are a whole lot of us that can die, and nobody will miss us except our kinfolk, but everybody in this army is depending on you, so would you get the hell back?
Mm. Wow.
You the chess master, we just pawns.
Mm-hmm.
All kinds of things. You've been around, you see it. They don't want you for the work you can do. They want you for what's in your brain.
Mm.
I ain't getting paid for it, but I mean, I don't mind sharing it. In fact, I feel it's my obligation.
We thank you for sharing your beautiful mind with us, with the masses. We greatly appreciate it. And
well, it's been my pleasure. The old man got to pontificate a little bit. I hope some of you are shocked, but be motivated. You can't get anything, do anything, be about anything if you don't have the heart to take a stand about something that's right. And if you don't have a cause, there's very little that you're going to hold right other than greed, you know? And that's not going to get you anywhere, even if you get the money.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So do right. And what did they used to say? Since we touched on it, power to the people.
That's right. All power to the people all the time.
There you go.
Thank you, brother.
Anyway, I'm out of here, brother.
Thank you, Judge. We love you, madly. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.